My husband works for a pretty prestigious university as the director of student life. He oversees a decent-sized staff, and their work encompasses all manners of student activities, groups, Greek life, etc. A little background before I get to the incident. A few months ago, we were expecting our baby. Most people on campus knew this, and knew that my husband, let's call him Joe, would be taking paternity leave. When the big day came, I called him at work and told him it's go time. Meet me at the hospital. And he dropped everything and ran out the door, as you do. In the delivery room, we had plenty of downtime, so from time to time, he checked his work email while I rest. He's looking through it and goes, "What the F?" A professor wrote the most caustic, unhinged rant saying basically, "I came into your office to see you about a matter concerning my students, and you weren't there despite the department hours clearly stating 8 to 5. This is unacceptable and unprofessional. Contact me immediately," etc. He laughed out loud and said, "Won't she feel silly when he gets his out of office reply?" But no, 10 minutes later she's harassing him again. Finally, he sent her a very terse reply, and it seemed that was the end of that. But not for long. Every day for the next week, this professor came into the office demanding to know if Joe was there. More than one tear was shed by the staff during this time. I don't know exactly what she was saying, or why no one else could do what she needed. The staff was kind enough to not burden Joe with this while he was on paternity leave. But reports are it was like having an angry dementor come through. On the first day Joe returned to work, he got to meet this professor face to face. He was in his office, on FaceTime with me actually, when yelling erupts from down the hall. "Uh-oh," he says to me, "bet that's her." We hung up, and what conversation happened in that office can only be imagined. Or maybe he told me and I forgot. #newborn life. But by all accounts, she was cantankerous, irate, and incorrect in what she was trying to do, and could not be told otherwise. As he's in charge of the department, but not of her, he can only put his foot down on the request, but not on the behavior. Finally, she left and the whole situation was done and dusted. Finished and forgotten. But again, not for long. Fast forward to yesterday. I decided to stop in with the baby to surprise him, and hopefully we could go to lunch. Also show off the baby, of course. When we arrived, it was all squeezes all around from the office staff, and one of the ladies took the baby for a tour around the building. I've been holding that kid for 3 months straight, so I was happy to let her. Joe's admin assistant told me he was in a meeting for another 10 minutes or so, and then she went off on the baby world tour. So I decided to sit in his office and enjoy merciful silence. But you guessed it, not for long. Enter the professor from hell. I knew it was her before she said one word. She looked like an ivory tower Karen with an "I want to talk to your dean" hairdo. Professor from hell. "Does nobody do any work around here? This is outrageous. Where's admin assistant? Why is Joe even on the payroll if he's never here? Go find him." What? Oh my effing god. Are you too effing hungover to accept simple direction? What the F is wrong with you? I'd kick your butt out of class looking like that. I don't care where he is. Go and get Joe. Oh, you think I'm a student. Professor from hell mocks me. Oh, I'm gonna pretend I'm not a student now sitting in the office with a university sweatshirt and a book bag. What group are you in? Because Joe will be very interested to hear how inept you are. I'm like, book bag? Oh yeah, diaper bag. At this point, I decided to ride this out and hope he comes back and sees it in progress. Okay, let's say I am a student. Why do you think I work here? That was exactly the wrong, or right, depending on your point of view, thing to say. This lady came undone in a torrent of maniacal hissing and shrieking. Her vitriol knew no bounds as she directed it at me, the office staff, my husband, all students except hers, the building itself. I've never seen such a tantrum. Give the baby a few years, they said. As she's having her meltdown, I moved out of the chair where I'd been sitting and sidled up to a photo of our wedding that Joe hung up. I leaned against the wall like a laconic cowboy with my foot up, arms folded, smirking. Unsurprisingly, she didn't notice the similarities between the beaming bride and the dumpy, sleep-deprived chick standing before her. But I remained committed to the con. After several moments of a non-stop torrent of verbal abuse, "Joe's not even fit for community college. How the F did he get a job here?" was the one that made me chortle. She didn't like that much. I hear a flurry of footsteps come flying down the hall. The admin assistant comes sliding through the door like Kramer, face white as a sheet. I asked her if Joe Jr. is okay. Another coworker had him in another office because they heard Professor from Hell and didn't want his baby self to learn what madness lurks in the world at such a tender age. She has exactly enough time to answer yes before Professor from Hell unleashes the Kraken in her direction with regard to my lack of ability. Administrative assistant: "Wait, what are you talking about? That's Mrs. Me." I'm still posed like the Marlboro Man, pointing at my picture. And right on cue, here comes the man of the hour, Joe, complete with Joe Jr. in arm. The coworker holding the baby had called his cell phone and told him what was happening, and to get back here ASAP. Joe was livid, but that eerie, scary sort that is a schadenfreude lover's delight when directed at the deserving recipient. He handed me the baby and asked if I was alright, then turned to Professor from Hell. "Joe, get out. Do not come back until I've spoken to your department chair. I'm going to lunch." Me: "Boy, do I have a story to tell you." And out the door we swept, off to lunch, where we got pizza and migraines from laughing so hard. So first of all, who is this Karen? Some kind of new hire? You know, stories like this always make me wonder what the husband of these Karens are like. Do you think they're as much of a Karen as she is? Or is he embarrassed of his wife? Maybe she wasn't a Karen when he first married her? The world may never know. This happened a couple of months ago. Backstory: I'm a youth worker, and part of my job involves taking clients to a bowling alley. I do this a few times a week, sometimes more than once a day, and usually at odd times. 9 a.m. Monday, bowling anyone? So the place is basically my second office, and we have a good relationship with the proprietors. During the quiet hours, they only have 2 staff working, one in the office/front desk/cafe, 3 separate locations by the way, and one behind the scenes. It means that often there's a bit of standing around waiting when the front of house staff member is in a different area. Myself and the other weekday regulars, mostly senior bowlers, are used to it. It actually works well for me because part of what I'm doing there is teaching my clients social skills and coping strategies, so having to occupy yourself and be patient and polite is a good teaching moment. My client and I have finished bowling, and we're sitting at the cafe eating and talking quietly, when a man approaches the unattended cafe and immediately starts huffing and pacing restlessly. I side-eye him, but keep talking to the kid. A minute later, he comes and looms over our table and says "excuse me" in an aggressive tone. Now I've got my calm, neutral face on, but inside I've started gibbering because 1, I hate confrontation. 2, this guy is actually massive. 3, the kids I work with are the 0 to kick your effing teeth in kind, and they often get very protective of their workers, in a sweet but messed up kind of way. So if this guy tries to start something, there's a good chance there'll be red and blue flashing lights in my immediate future. "Yes?" I inquired politely, keeping one eye on the kid, one hand on my phone, and a vapid smile on my face. "How about you do your farking job?" He leaned down over the table. His breath was as unpleasant as the rest of him. I was surprised, because sitting at a bowling alley eating curly fries with a 15-year-old at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday was my job, and I was doing it well, thank you very much. I was also alarmed because said 15-year-old had become very still and very tense. Not good. I moved back in my seat and resumed the vapid smiling. "Oh, sorry, I don't work here. Sometimes you have to wait a minute for someone to see you and come over. But otherwise, maybe try the front desk?" "Well, you're dressed like you farkin' work here." He leaned over more and jabbed, Jabbed! He jabbed me in my chest. The staff at this bowling alley wear black trousers and violently orange polo shirts that match the violently orange walls. Awful. I'm glad I don't drink, because going in there with a hangover would kill me. I was wearing baggy hippie pants, my purple Manic Pixie Dream Tarantula tee, and a sparkly sequin backpack, and a lanyard with the word staff printed on it. I held up the company ID card at the end of the lanyard, which identifies me as an employee of the nonprofit I work for. No, sorry, I work for company name. We're customers here. Now if you don't mind, you're being very rude. Me trying to role model, terrified. I smiled my best everything is fine smile to the kid, eyeing the cutlery buckets. Don't talk to me like that, you little woman. I want 3 beers and some farkin' wings. He actually smacked the table with his hand. I looked over to the main area. Oh goody, he has friends. I leaned back as far as I could. The wall was behind me, tables either side, and him blocking my exit. The kid stood up. Bad. Staff members spotted us and started rushing over. Good. We had time for a few rounds of, I want to speak to your manager. I don't work here though, please let me out, before the actual manager of the bowling alley reached us. He pulled the guy away so I could get up, but dude wants to speak to my manager and won't let up. Manager says, I am the manager here. You're her manager? No, she doesn't work here. Dude turns to me, I want to speak to your manager now. At this point, I figured why not. Handed him one of our company business cards and said ask for my manager name. He turned away to dial the number, and I grabbed the kid and whispered, now watch him make a jerk of himself. Kid laughs and relaxes a bit, thank God. And the 3 of us stand in a row and watch this dummy call my actual manager and complain that I wouldn't serve him beer and chicken wings. My manager actually took the complaint on an official form and made me sign it when I got back to the office as a joke. Meanwhile, dude was banned. The bowling alley gave the kid a huge pile of free arcade tokens and apology, and I was able to get him to give me back the knife he stole before I dropped him home. Wins all round. So, I think this is such a great story. This lady is trying to teach this kid good social skills, and the complete opposite of good social skills comes in like the Hulk ready to destroy. I'm so glad the situation ended when it did, because it sounded like it could have been way worse. That's it for today, guys. Real quick, I really enjoy making these videos, and only you can help me continue to do it. A simple thumbs up and comment goes a long way and helps out big time. So with that being said, I'll see you tomorrow.